Good morning. Welcome to the Daily Icon with Adam Ming. Today I'm going to give you a piece of advice that I got from this book by Scott Adams. If that name sounds familiar, it's because he's the guy who created the Dilbert comic strip. He's got a really interesting life story and I definitely recommend the book. But the quote I want to take out from the book is that Scott Adams says, if you want success, figure out the price and pay it. If you want success, figure out the price and pay it. It sounds simplistic, but it makes a lot of sense. I'll give you an example. If you saw a comedian on the stage, on the Tonight Show, for example, how hard does it look for a guy to get up on stage and speak for 5 minutes and make people laugh? You would think it's a hard thing to do, but I bet you would really underestimate the amount of work and effort it took that person to get 5 minutes of material to stand up on stage. Many people who have achieved the heights of getting up on a Tonight Show or a late night show to tell jokes came through the same route. They might have spent 7, 8, 9, 10 years going to a comedy club every single night, trying out new jokes, trying out materials, finding the ones that get the best laughs and noting them down. And over time, collecting the best of those jokes into 5 minutes and being able to put them all together into something like a narrative, get some kind of flow, and that will give you enough material to be good enough for TV. So it's 3 to 5 hours every night for 10 years to get that 5 minutes of material. So if you didn't know the price and you wanted to be a comedian, and you might go around the wrong way and you might never achieve that goal just because you didn't know what the price was. But if you knew going into it that it would take at least 10 years and many nights of your life, you get to decide whether you still want to do it. And if you want to do it, then you just have to pay the price. So I found that really insightful. And now I'm going to draw a hand. We started out with a fist and then an open palm, and today I'm going to draw a peace sign. Actually, what I'm doing is rock, paper, and scissors. And it's just to get different poses of the hand. And why I think if you're starting a sketchbook, drawing a hand is such a good idea, it's because you always have a model. You can always refer to your hand. Okay, I'm gonna hide my screen, hide my face, and let's get started. So the way I've been doing this is I've been drawing a shape, so I'm just gonna continue on that vein. I know now that a hand has this kind of shape of your fist. You can see I'm a bit more confident in drawing the shape now after having a couple of days of practice. I suppose I should mention yesterday's live stream got cut short because of bad internet. And so I wrote a blog about it instead. And you can check that out in my profile. Okay, so kind of a fist. The thumb comes out here somewhere. And then you have your fingers. Maybe we'll make this a bit longer. Okay, so you have your fingers. I'm trying to do a peace sign, so 2 fingers out. And another 2 fingers. I'm going to draw them separately. These are the other 2 fingers, which I'm going to layer back on after. And then maybe a 3rd finger, which is doing this. So if you've watched a few of this, you will notice how I deconstruct the objects that I'm drawing into their parts and then reconstruct them later. It's just a quirk, it's just the way I do it, and I like it. I find it useful to lean into your quirks rather than try and avoid that or try to draw like somebody else. Okay, so these are the parts that I need. So these shapes are not really nice and clean. There's a couple of ways to get cleaner shapes. And the one I'm going to use today is I'll use the eraser tool and make longer strokes. Almost like I'm sculpting in 2D. So I get these imperfect shapes. But there's a little bit more control. We clean up all these dirt. Cut out a piece of that finger to create some interest. I don't know if you saw that. That was the middle finger. I cut out a small piece. And this, now I'm looking at the two fingers on the right. So cleaning that up. Creating a bit more interest in the shape. Okay, so I got my shapes down. Now I'm going to draw some texture on them. So I create a new layer, get a darker color. I have some favorites now. And I start to draw some shadow. As always, I draw outside the lines. That's just my character. The thing about drawing outside the lines is you actually are drawing inside the lines as well. So it's not like you're not doing the correct thing. You're just adding a little bit extra. And it's easy to get rid of the extra. But the stuff that's inside the lines looks better for some reason. Maybe that's why I do. Okay, now for the parts that are going to be covered, I try and put a little bit more shadow, knowing that they will be covered to create that contrast. Okay, so that works as some shading. And thanks to technology, we can clip the parts that we don't need. Now, I'm not sure that the thumb and the two fingers that are going to overlap this hand are distinct enough from the shape below, because I'm going to lay them on top. Let me show you what I mean. I plan to move. Give me a second. Struggling with the tools a bit. Oh, I can do that. Well, I plan to move these fingers above that hand. And I'll do so soon. I forgot to time this thing. I try and keep them to 15 minutes every day. So I'm thinking, so basically what I need to do is make the bottom area darker than the top, and I don't think I've done that sufficiently well yet. So I'll just darken it a bit more. And that should do the trick. Okay, merge these layers. Merge layers. And now I can move them. So these fingers go on top. Is that clear enough to you? What's going on? It's not, right? I need to go a bit more extreme. Okay. So maybe I'll add a little bit of color into that. Use a different brush. Have I tried this? That will really do the trick. So when you look at my drawings, you might be tempted to think like, I'm just putting marks wherever I like. But if you listen to me talk it through, there's actually some sort of reasoning to all of it. It's kind of like my reasoning for coloring outside the lines. And there you go, peace sign. Okay, so it needs to be something like that. Something like that. It needs to touch the hands inside. And because the thumb is down, this part actually gets smaller. And that's a little bit better. I think I like that. Okay, rock, paper, scissors. And I'll finish up with some lines. So I'm not timing today. The last bit might get cut off. So if it gets cut off, I'd like to invite you to join us tomorrow. And I'm just going to keep drawing. It's not over, but I just want to say that. Okay, so I know there's some important lines I need to add to this. Most importantly, the area that gets overlapped. So I need to add some clarity there. That's one. A couple lines there. Okay. That helps adjust the form. Is that enough? When I draw these lines, I'm always trying to get the minimum number of lines. I try and avoid those two altogether. Do we need something here? Is that too much? It's clear though. What if we did it in a different color? Is that acceptable? I think so. Okay, I'm gonna work on the shape a bit, erasing some bits. Some of the pointy edges. And let's label it. What do you call this hand? Peace hand? Peace sign? It's kind of a peace sign. Let's call it peace sign. Okay, And that's the stream for today. I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for joining.